It all started with an orange basket.
I wanna ball, like was it Kelly, y'all? I said I wanna ball, like was it Kelly,
Yo, what up YouTube? DonnieDohn here, D29, DonQuiz29, DonnieDohn2K, here with the second part to the tattoo tutorial. The first part we just went through the different processes of doing tattoos individually, as far as just single logos, different methods, going through templates. This part we're gonna just be making a random sleeve tattoo. I don't know what I'm making beforehand. I'm just going in here blind and just gonna make something with what I got. To my right, again, just to go over some things like we did before. These are my templates that I use. This is just a regular base skin tone, just a generic skin tone base color that will come in handy. This is the blue tint color that I use for tattoos. This is the green tint color that I use for tattoos. And these are examples of sleeve tattoos. This is Brian Black's left sleeve tat. This is his right sleeve tattoo. And this is 1/3 of Dark Carnival Misfits sleeve tattoo. So with that being said, I'm gonna get to the process of just making a random sleeve. Like I said, I don't know what I'm making beforehand. I'm just gonna go over here and go through the process of what I would do to make the sleeve. Now, here's the thing with sleeve tattoos. I'm gonna show some examples of some do's and don'ts because there really is a method to it. One key thing though about tattoos, number one, well, logos in general in Photoshop. When you're sizing something in Photoshop, you want to make sure that it retains the same quality that the resolution that it already had in the first place. Right here to my right, you see these little graphics right here. I don't know what to call them, but what that means is it's a smart object. If I right click this and go to rasterize, it disappears. You can't edit anything in Photoshop unless the layer is rasterized first. Now I can go in and erase it if I want to and things like that. Without doing that first, I can't even erase it or anything. So if I go back to it and I try to do that, it won't even let me. It's gonna tell you that. And to resize it, you want it as a smart object, because if you don't have it as a smart object when you resize it, you can make it as small as you want, and then I can hit OK, and I can bring this right back, and it keeps the same resolution. Whereas if I rasterize this first, then if I size this down, hit OK, and then if I try to bring it back, it's going to be super pixelated. It's not going to retain the same quality that it once would before we did it as a rasterized object. So that being said, I'm going to go back to get it to how it was originally. The next part with sleeves is this right here. You see this, right? This is the tattoo. This is the sleeve tattoo right here. This is what it's supposed to look like around the arm. So clearly this is supposed to wrap around the whole arm. As is, just like this won't work. Like you would think that, oh, okay, I see that it wraps around the arm right here. So when I put this in a game and try to stretch it, either regularly or right clicking the stick and doing the switch mapping, it's supposed to stretch around the whole arm. It's not going to. It's just the way the game is set up. Don't ask me why they made it like that. It's not. So for this particular situation, let's say you just wanted this as a sleeve, right? You would have to do it like this. So I did this beforehand. I set up all these beforehand so I wouldn't have to go through all those processes that we went through in the last video. If you want to understand how to make PNGs and take away the background stuff, go back to part 1. But you will have to not have it this way. You will have to have it stretched across the entire grid. So if you literally just wanted this as a tattoo for your sleeve and be done, you're done right now. At this point, just stretch it across the whole thing, put it into the game, and then you're done. Import it into the game, go to the arm, right click the right stick, and then just move it to your liking. Size it up to your liking. It will not fade. People always ask me, how do you put logos and sleeves on without it fading? I think they introduced it in 2K17, WWE 2K17. All you do is right click the right stick, and that's stretch mapping, and there's no fade whatsoever. If you do it the other way, then you have to deal with the fade process. So this is how you have to do it. Same thing with this one. This is just a regular sleeve, and you would see this and be like, okay, this should work, but it's not going to work as is. When you put it in the game, even when you do stretch mapping, it's going to look just like this on the arm. This is just going to cover one side of the arm, either the outside of the arm or the inside of the arm, depending on where you put it. The same thing with this one. This is just going to sit on one side of the arm. Even if you do the stretch mapping when you click the right stick, it's just going to sit on one side. It's not going to go across the whole sleeve like you would think this one would. It can't look like this. It has to be stretched across the whole grid. Now, the problem with stretching this across the whole grid, this you can get away with and stretch it across the whole grid because it was already kind of wide in the first place. So this is not going to look too bad anyway, depending on your preference when you stretch this all the way across or something like this and put it in a game and just put it on the arm and call it a day. Something like this one or this one, you cannot just stretch these across and think it's going to look good. Because if I stretch this right now, this way and this way, and then if I say boom, I'm done, that's how I want it to look, that's not going to look good in the game. From my experience, it's not going to look good. Maybe to you, this will work. But just from my experience, something like this doesn't look good when you put it in the game. So you can try it like this, and if you like it, then fine, by all means do it. But just personally, I wouldn't go about doing it this process. So my method is more so to do this. I'm gonna go back to the templates that I had, and we're gonna go on black tattoos. You see this middle part, right? I'm gonna click this just so you can see it. This middle part right here, this whole middle part is essentially the same as this. You see how it fits in that middle area for the most part? Same thing here. See how it fits in this middle area, right? So when I did black tattoo, this part right here, all the way down here, was one middle piece, just like these. And I set that there, and everything else I just filled in around it. So I took this skull design right here, and I split it in two. I put one on this side, one on this side. I took this little compass and watch logo. I put this down here. This bam, I put that there. All of this I added. Every single thing I added within this, because this alone isn't gonna work. You have to fill the whole grid, but you have to go and find what's the theme of your tattoo. What are you trying to put in the sleeve? Is your tattoo telling a story, or do you just want like theme items within the same sleeve tattoo? Is one side of the sleeve one thing and the other side of the sleeve another thing? Is the whole sleeve saying something? Then convey that with the different type of tattoos that you're gonna compile to make the sleeve, pretty much. So I'm gonna close that. So I'm gonna start this process of just putting something together. So in my case, what I would do is I'm gonna try to use everything here. So even though you can use this as is, I'm gonna try to use everything here and make something out of everything that I have. So I think I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna put this on top of here, and I will show how to do this too, because clearly if I do this, you can't see it. So I'm gonna click the polygon lasso tool. I'm gonna right click, hit freeform. I'm gonna try to set this where I want it. So in this situation, there's a big skull right here. Usually, like I said, with the black tattoo, it was just set in the middle and I built around it. But since this is kind of compiled a certain way, I'm gonna try to maneuver this to where it, I guess, makes sense. So I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna probably stretch this. Let's see. Like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it off the top of my head right now. So I'm gonna put this here. Hit OK. Now, I have my on-screen keyboard because I still didn't give me another keyboard yet. So what I would do here, because you can't see what it is. So what I would do here is hit Control, then click the layer so you can outline it, select it all. I'm gonna go down here to the layer that we're on top of. I'm gonna hit Select, Modify, Expand. I'm gonna go like 7. Hit Cut. It works. But this is how you get to see what you're putting within the sleeve. So I'm gonna do the same thing again, but in this situation, I'm gonna right click. Well, click the layer that we're working with. I'm gonna right click and duplicate. And then I'm gonna move this to the opposite side, because when I put it here, it's kind of sticking out on this side. So to get the full aspect of this logo right here, in particular, this area, I'm gonna put it all the way on this side and kind of match what I'm doing here. So the beginning of it is here and it ends here, but it cuts off. So when you stretch it, it's gonna connect all the way around. So this way you're gonna put it over here, place it there, and we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the other layer. So we're gonna hit Control, select the layer that we're working on, go back to the layer that we're on top of, that we want to have the effect of what we're doing. Select, Modify, Expand, hit OK because that size is fine, and then hit Cut. Now you see the ending of this logo right here. So now when this stretches, this part in particular is gonna feel over this way. So I think we're done as far as those go. We're gonna go to this Chinese dragon tattoo. I don't know exactly where to put this in this situation. I think I'm gonna just finesse it and just, because this is just for teaching purposes. So I'm gonna move this down here. I might just do the same thing that I did with that one. How far down is that? That's there. I'm gonna do this like right here. I might actually be doing a little bit too much, but for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna do it just to give you guys an idea of all what you can do. So after placing it, I'll pop on my keyboard, hit Control, select the layer. I gotta move this on top. Click the layer, select, modify, expand, hit OK, and edit and cut. And then that is down there. So I am not using this tattoo that I'm making. This is strictly for video purposes, tutorial purposes. If I was using this, I wouldn't even have put that down there. I probably would have just did something else. So I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna go back up here, duplicate, right click, freeform. I'll move this here. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're gonna fill out this logo in particular, so it has a connecting point. Because if we didn't fill it out, this right here, there's nothing for it to connect to, because this is the end. Even if I stretch it and it connects over here, there's nothing here for this part in particular to form what that is supposed to be to complete. Hold Control, click the layer, go down to the layer that we want the effect on, select, modify, expand, OK, and then cut. And it worked, but oh, okay, this one is a different situation because I think it's here. Yeah, this part right here. So I cut the base layer, but this part right here is here as well, so it didn't cut there. So what I need to do here, I don't necessarily need to put it on top, you just have to make sure that you're selecting the layer that you want the effect to take place on. So here, I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna rasterize, because we can't do anything to the layer unless we rasterize it first, as far as editing it. So I'm gonna go back to this layer, because that's the one that we need to do it with. Hold Control, hit the little square thumbnail for the layer. I'm gonna go to here, because this is where I need the effect to take place. Select, modify, expand, and then I'm gonna hit cut. So then that feels that way. Now, like I said, realistically, if I was doing this for real and using this, I wouldn't have did that, because that completely just cut away that 8-ball logo that was there, and that actually looked nice with this. But just for the sake of this video, I'm just showing you how you're supposed to go about doing it. So essentially, just make sure that you fill the whole grid with whatever you want your sleeve to consist of. But then when you compile your logos together, you have to make sure that you give your logos adequate space within the grid in the sleeve, so you can see what the sleeve is actually made of. Because just having things compiled on top of stuff like this, it's not gonna look right. You don't know what none of this is, so it doesn't make sense. You have to actually have it compile and make up what you should be able to see what you're making, what the sleeve consists of. Because other than that, it's just gibberish and it's just all over the place. This says Chain to the Dead. I believe this is a band, a rock band logo, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna right click this. I'm gonna resize this. What do I want to put this? Probably I might put this like down here at the bottom. Like I said, I'm just doing what I might do in this situation, like if I was actively gonna use this. Place that there. Go to our keyboard, hold Control. Okay, go down to the layer that we want the effect to take place. Select, modify, expand. 7 should be fine. That's what we've been using so far. And then hit cut. And then boom, you can see that now way better than what it was in the first place. And then you just continue just doing that method until you get the logo, the sleeve, or however you want to refer to it, until you get it to your liking, and you're done. And then you put it in the game, and that's pretty much it. And if you don't like something, you always come back and tweak it. Always come back. You can add something here, take away something there. And this is a situation where when doing this process, you kind of want to always have the original. You kind of always want to have the original logos that you was working with, because this is a destructive process. Because once you start cutting on top of the layers, you won't have that full aspect of that logo anymore. So let's say that you're doing this and you're like, oh, you know what? I actually don't want this here. I don't want this here. But once you go back and start muting everything or deleting it, now you go back and you're like, oh, I don't have the rest of this. How do I fix this? You can't go back and fix this unless you try to go back and undo everything and hope that you can get back to that point. So it's always nice to duplicate your layer, have a backup of it, so that way you can always go back. And if you want to rework it, then you can rework it with no problem. I'll just bring these back for now. What was I working? I was here. Control, select. So layer that we want the effect to take place again. Select, modify, expand, and then cut. And then just keep going. And like I said already like 3-4 times, I'm not actually using this, so none of this is looking like something I would actually do. The only parts of this so far that I like so far is the chain to the dead, this skull right here, this part right here, but then I don't like it because I cut out the 8-ball. These two pieces I wouldn't even have here if I was gonna actually use this. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine, this is cool. Even this is cool, but I feel like this right here is probably a bit too much. So let's say you're done with this and you want to put something huge on top of everything. In this situation, I can't just select the base layer because I have other things on top of here. So what I would do here, I will merge everything here first. So I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna hit merge visible. Merge layers is merging everything on the right side that's selected. Merge visible is merging everything that you see on the grid, everything that's selected with this little eyeball visibility option here. So I'm gonna merge visible. Now everything that we see here is within one logo, one layer. So now, if I wanted to actually put this here and cut it out, this would be an easier process. Hit Control, click the thumbnail layer that we're working on, then click the layer that we want the effect to take place. Select, modify, expand, and then cut. And that will cut out that entire piece. Now I don't have to go individually and cut everything. And like I said, this is just, right now, this is just a jumbled up mess. But as you saw me go through the process of cutting out each individual piece and place it how I wanted it, you can see that now you can see the logos of what I was trying to make. So now the spaces for those logos within the sleeve are visible, and you can make out what certain items are. And this one in particular at the end, it's not that great, only because this is just made for video purposes, but you should be able to get the general idea. And if you're Photoshop savvy enough, or whatever program you're using, whether it be Paint.net or Photopea or things of that nature, you should be able to go through the process and get something to look the way that you want to your liking. And hopefully you can benefit from these two videos that I made as far as the process that I would go about doing certain tattoos. So I believe that's it. D29, NarQuiz29, 2K, and I'm out.